The $5 footlong is a favorite at sandwich chain Subway.
But soon the signature 12-inch deal may not be available.
All right, Subway fans, this one is for you. After a slow start to the year for the fast food industry, Subway
will allow each franchise owner to choose whether or not to offer the $5 footlong. Some shops complained about the narrow profit margin.
Remember when Subway promised a $5 footlong that felt like a meal and a half? Today, that same sandwich can cost nearly $15, and it may arrive soggy, limp, and even shorter than advertised. One court even ruled that their bread was closer to cake than real bread. How did a brand that once stood for value and freshness become a gamble with every visit? Stay with me, because once you see how Subway's reputation crumbled, you'll realize why their value proposition was just marketing smoke and mirrors. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. What does a $5 promise look like when it mutates into a $15 disappointment? At first glance, it looks simple. Two chains that build entire reputations around the idea of affordable, fresh meals suddenly asking customers to pay triple the price for less food. But beneath that price tag is something more damaging than just a hit to the wallet. It's a failing contract between brand and buyer, one that took years to build and only minutes to unravel once reality set in. Subway and Panera offered two very different paths to the same destination: eroded trust and shrinking value. To understand how it got here, you need to remember what drew people in during the beginning. Subway didn't sell itself as gourmet, it sold itself as accessible. Any customer could walk in with a crumpled 5 and walk out with a long sandwich that felt like a full meal. Panera went in another direction, pushing an image of wellness and clean eating. Where Subway leaned into quantity for the price, Panera leaned into quality for health. Both framed themselves as an easy, better choice at a time when most fast food was fried or greasy. Together, they formed brackets that captured anyone who wanted either comfort on a budget or conscience on a plate. But that promise began to fracture. The symbols that once defined each chain, Subway's $5 footlong ads or Panera's mountain of leafy greens, turned into evidence of betrayal. The $5 deal slowly disappeared, yet the sandwich didn't improve. Portions became inconsistent, even laughable at times, with bread rolls that didn't measure up to their name. Panera, on the other hand, kept its spotless branding on the surface, but the food itself carried shocking levels of sodium and calories that made the clean slogan sound hollow. Customers weren't just paying more, they were realizing the food they bought didn't match the identity they were sold.
It's famous for its foot-long sandwiches of all varieties, but don't call the stuff either side of the filling bread.
It's a Subway sandwich, but Ireland's Supreme Court ruled that because of the higher level of sugar in these rolls, they cannot be considered bread. One Subway franchise claimed it should not be paying tax on the rolls they use in heated sandwiches, much like...
Take Subway first. The company had its bread literally questioned before a court, where a ruling stated it was closer to cake than bread due to the sugar content. That detail mattered because bread wasn't a decorative element. It was the foundation of the chain's entire product. Then add in the inconsistency of portions. One location might serve a hearty sandwich, while another skimps with a meager few slices of protein tucked inside spongy bread that barely tastes like bread at all. Value in this case isn't measured by slogans. It's measured by how much food actually arrives in the hand. And by that measure, Subway's once clear trade of quantity for money collapsed.
Of the weight of flour in the dough, and in Subway's case, the figure is reportedly 10%. Specifically, under Irish law, the sugar in bread should not exceed 2%, because I want to know that if it's not bread, then what is it? Is it a I don't know, a footlong cake? How does the taxman define it?
Now shift to Panera. Customers walk in expecting whole ingredients, a sense of nourishment, maybe even a bit of guilt-free indulgence after work. Yet a single turkey or chicken sandwich can quietly load more than half the recommended sodium intake for a full day. And that wouldn't be so jarring if the serving size looked generous. But more often, it's a thin sandwich presented on an oversized plate. Impressive lighting and clean packaging don't change the fact that it's small, salty, and still costs $15 before you add a drink. Instead of being full, you're left wondering how a portion so modest can push sodium so high and still leave your stomach unsatisfied. Picture it through the eyes of a customer. They set aside a lunch break, decide to eat better, and walk into Panera. $15 later, they're staring at a sandwich smaller than a smartphone, chewing through bread that feels airy and realizing the salt hits harder than the protein. Hunger lingers, disappointment settles in, and the expectation of a meal that felt both nourishing and worthwhile collapses on the spot. Multiply that experience by thousands, and you see why faith in the brand erodes quickly. People don't feel cheated once, and they feel tricked each time they go back in hope of consistency and leave hungrier than they should. Industry data sharpens the picture. Over the last decade, fast casual chains raised prices at a pace far beyond inflation. While basic costs like groceries and utilities climbed steadily, menu boards at sandwich spots spiked faster. Customers keep asking whether the ingredients improved to explain the jump. The answer is usually no. Many sandwiches are smaller, not bigger, and nutritional content doesn't align with claims of quality. The inflation excuse may cushion the story, but numbers show the margins rose further than the market demanded. Value disappeared not through natural costs, but through an intentional shift designed to sustain profits, even if loyalty cracked. And here's where the pattern becomes obvious. These chains built themselves as anchors of affordability and health, yet now circle back as examples of excess cost and disappointing food. It isn't just one company, it's a warning about the entire category. Marketing makes you believe you're eating better or smarter. The tray in front of you proves otherwise. The illusion survives only because slogans outshine servings. That's how the $5 promise became a $15 letdown, leaving customers with thinner sandwiches, stretched budgets, and trust that's hard to repair. And if Subway and Panera, once leaders of freshness and health, can erode so drastically, what does that mean for the other chains trading on similar promises? The sandwich chains that once symbolized convenience and quality turned into a battleground where rising prices and shrinking portions show how far marketing can drift from reality. What once felt like honest value now feels like calculated illusion, designed to stretch a brand's promise further than the plate can deliver. If a $5 footlong can morph into a $15 illusion, maybe it's time to measure value not by slogans, but by what actually lands on your plate. Watch for similar traps in other food chains, and let me know in the comments where you've seen the same story unfold.